Mother Teresa, founder of the Roman Catholic Missionaries of Charity, working saint of the streets of Calcutta, and the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979, says she finds the same thing missing in the lands of plenty as in the lands of poverty: compassion. Maybe they are starved for bread in Africa. You are starved for love in the United States. Compassion. Compassion comes into the English language by way of the Latin root patio, which means to suffer, paired with the Latin prefix com, meaning together, to suffer together, co-suffering. That is the etymological definition of compassion, to suffer together. But let me ask you, what compassion is for you? What does it mean to you? Take this time to think about compassion and to share your thoughts with those around you. Among emotion researchers, compassion is defined as the feeling that arises when you are confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to relieve that suffering. Compassion is not the same as empathy or altruism, though the concepts are related. While empathy refers more generally to our ability to take the perspective of and feel the emotions of another person, compassion is when those feelings and thoughts include the desire to help. Altruism, in turn, is the kind, selfless behavior often prompted by feelings of compassion, though altruism is not always motivated by compassion. Compassion cannot see someone in need without helping. It accepts the consequences of getting involved because it cannot bear to turn away. Compassion comes from a heart that is tender toward God and fellow travelers on the road of life. Compassion is not uniquely a response to suffering of those who fear the Lord. For instance, Exodus 2:6 and Luke 10:33. Even though Christians have unique reasons for nurturing their compassionate dispositions, believers learn about compassion through example and exhortation. Imitating God and or Christ has led many to live an exemplary compassion life. The scriptures also exhort believers to make compassion an integral aspect of their lives. This is what the Lord Almighty said: administer true justice, show mercy, and remember, every time you see the word in red, is for you to read. Let's try one more time. Show mercy and compassion to one another. And Paul, writing to the Colossians, said, so chosen by God for this new life of love, dressed in the wardrobe God picked out for you: compassion, kindness, humility, quiet strength, discipline. In the Bible, compassion is always both a feeling and the appropriate action based on that feeling. In the Old Testament, compassion describes one aspect of God's covenantal relationship with His people. One of the Hebrew words translated compassion is derived from a root word meaning womb, thus comparing God's love with maternal love. God's compassion, however, went beyond simply feeling the emotion. It was always demonstrated by definite acts that testify to His covenant with Israel. The psalmist declared, but you, O Lord, are a God of compassion and mercy, slow to anger and filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. In the New Testament, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, exactly reflects the Father's compassion in His dealing with failing humanity. Jesus Christ exemplified God's compassion in His preaching and healing, Matthew 14:14, and His concern for the lostness of humankind, Luke 19:41, and finally, in His sacrifice on the cross, Romans 5:8. When He saw the crowds, He had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. The church is to demonstrate compassion as one facet of the love Jesus commanded. Take your Bible and read Bible verse about compassion that God, Jesus, expects from His followers. Lord, when I learn that someone is hurting, help me know what to do and to say. Speak to my heart and give me compassion. Let your great love flow through me today. I believe that the Antioch church lived out such a prayer for compassion. The Antioch community was a compassionate community. After the important meeting that the early church had in Jerusalem, the council in Jerusalem of Acts 15, that by the way was prompted by the Antioch church, the council and the leaders of the Christian church at the time had a few recommendations for the Antioch church. One of them was that they should keep being a community of compassion. Paul, explaining about the recommendation, writes, their only suggestion was that we keep on helping the poor, which I have always been eager to do. This compassionate mode of operation by the church in Antioch is first clearly expressed in the Bible in Acts 11:27-30. In the early days of the Antioch church, when Barnabas and Paul were busy teaching and preaching, some prophets come from Jerusalem. One of the visitors broke terrible news. One of them, named Agabus, stood up and began to indicate by the Spirit that there would certainly be a great famine all over the world. And this took place in the reign of Claudius. A severe famine was coming. Such a terrible situation would impact the entire Roman world. In other words, soon the Antioch church would suffer a great famine, like all the other communities. What was their plan, their decision? Did they organize themselves to keep and store food so they would have enough during the difficult time, like the patriarch Joseph did in Egypt? Pay attention to what the Bible has to say. So the believers in Antioch decided to send relief to the brothers and sisters in Judea, everyone giving as much as they could. This they did, entrusting their gifts to Barnabas and Saul to take to the elders of the church in Jerusalem. The Antioch church, moved by compassion, not only cared about themselves, they put the needs of others before their own needs and decided to help. They could not help everyone, but they could help someone. They decided to support the brothers and sisters in Judea. I don't know about you, but I'm so moved and inspired by the Antioch church. Let me ask you, how can your spiritual community be more like the Antioch church, a compassionate community that cares for the needs of those around you? Take this time to think, to pray, and to share your thoughts and feelings with those around you. Compassion is understanding the troubles of others and reaching out. We show God's love when we are willing to help others. We show His strength when we take on the task He gives us to do. Let's follow Antioch's footsteps. Let's be a compassionate church. Let's be the church, loving and serving.